Yo guys, Vision here bringing you more Marvel Rivals content. Today's video I'll be bringing you the full Hawkeye guide following the latest update, breaking down all of his abilities, including his team ability, and addressing both his strengths and weaknesses. This is episode 30 of my new Hero Series guides with all of the previous episodes on my channel. And on that note, let's just get right into things. So firstly, Hawkeye is a duelist in this game, a top ranged hero who's widely regarded as one of the best and strongest duelists in the game, particularly for players who leverage his precision-based kit. He's a strong DPS in most systems and a great hero to have in your bag, especially if you are a duelist main. Now, as for his stats and his abilities, he has a base health of 275, so fairly squishy, and a movement speed of 6 meters per second, so pretty average for the most part across all heroes. As for his abilities, he actually has two primary attacks. The first is a piercing arrow, which deals anything between 8.5 damage to 85, with the maximum damage being achieved after 0.9 seconds of charging. So effectively, the longer you hold your aim down with the charged bow, the more damage you're going to deal. It does deal critical hits, and it also has infinite ammo. Now, the second primary attack is known as the blast arrow, which is basically where you can shoot 3 explosive arrows, which deal 16 projectile damage and has a 3-meter radius, dealing 34 spell field damage as well, with a cast of 3 arrows per shot. And I won't lie, I'm still yet to find an exact scenario of when best to basically use this ability, because I've barely used the character in itself. I've not really used Hawkeye all that much at this point, so I'd likely get back to you guys on when I eventually get the Lord video out for how it's best to use this ability. But for the most part, you just really want to use the primary attack, the main primary attack, which is basically his piercing arrow. Now, as well as moving on for this, when firing both primary attacks, Hawkeye is slowed by 20%, so just bear this in mind. It's like a little tip. When strafing and pre-aiming and stuff like that around corners, just bear in mind, at a little higher sort of elo tip I would give you guys is bear in mind that you are slower when you're using down the draw. When you're holding the arrow basically ready to fire, you're just a tiny bit slower, so just bear that in mind, especially if you're new to the game. Now, as for the first ability, this is his R3, his melee attack, where basically anytime you melee, you unleash a katana and slash forward, launching up enemies hit up to 8 meters away, dealing 40 damage, and has a cooldown of 12 seconds. Basically just pushes and alleviates dive pressure. Anytime you get dove onto, use this to basically push people away, deal a little bit of damage, and just allows them to go up in the air, so maybe you can draw back your shot and try and get a quick shot off on them. Now, as for his L1 ability, this is known as the hypersonic arrow, where you can basically shoot a hypersonic arrow, which deals 2 instances of damage to enemies in its path and inflicting them with a slow. Now, this ability can knock down flying heroes as well, so this is really good for those heroes like Storm, Human Torch, and Iron Man. This ability deals a 55 initial damage and then also has a 55 second damage follow-up. Basically, it slows enemies by 40% for 1 second. Basically, you can leave them vulnerable in an isolated area, especially if you take out a sort of a flyer. You can leave them slowed down for 40% and then get another shot off really quickly if you time it right. It has a spell field radius of 3 meters in length, 5 meters in width, and a height of 1.6 meters. So you need to be relatively accurate with this ability, but for the most part, it is definitely underused in my opinion. Now, this ability has a 12-second cooldown, and like I said, definitely underappreciated in my opinion, but very effective when setting up an easy snipe, leaving them slow and leave them out in the open and isolated, especially if it's a flying hero. Now, Ronin Slash is his R1 ability, where basically you can swing his sword to strike forward any enemies in front of you, deflecting all incoming projectiles up to 3 meters away, and effectively being a damage blocker for you and your teammates behind you, but basically it doesn't block any explosive damage, so just bear that in mind, only projectiles. He also has a double jump ability, which can be used for every 6 seconds and can be utilized to gain an advantage at higher elevations, to create off angles, or just use it as an escape ability just in your back pocket in case you need it. His passive ability is known as the Archer's Focus, which is when you basically aim at an enemy to improve your focus, which enhances the damage inflicted by the piercing arrow, and which is his first primary attack, which can deal up to 75 bonus damage. Now, the maximum bonus damage is achieved after 0.9 seconds of aiming. It triggers up to 40 meters away and deals an additional critical damage as well, and applies this damage on top of the actual regular primary attack damage as well, so bear that in mind. Like I said, it's bonus damage. Hawkeye also has a really cool team ability with Lunar Snow, obtaining the Ice Arrow, and when paired with Lunar Snow, Hawkeye is imbued with the Ice Energy, which allows him to fire his ice arrows that pierce through enemies, through walls as well, and if any arrow travels beyond a certain distance, it stuns the enemy, and if it hits the enemy before it strikes, or if it strikes before it reaches that distance, it then instead slows that target. Now, the farther the ice arrow flies, the greater the damage, so it basically incentivizes you playing at range and gives you that advantage for sniping. Something a hero like Black Widow definitely needs, in my opinion. Something like that. The general concept, it makes perfect sense for a character like Hawkeye. Now, this ability does deal spellfield damage. At the start, it deals 25 and increases with distance, like I said, reaching a maximum of 100 damage at 30 meters. It slows enemies by 60% for 1 second, or it stuns enemies by 0.8 seconds up to 30 meters away, and there's a cooldown of 20 meters between any use. And then finally, his ultimate ability, known as the Hunter's Sight, where he can basically capture after images of enemies in his view. Damage dealt to an after image is basically transferred to the corresponding enemy you're hitting, which means enemies hiding behind cover aren't safe from you. And when used right, this ability is crazy. You can spam attack it when you have the ult popped, or you can take your time and get a guaranteed one-shot kill on any squishy targets when you shoot their after images. They last for 3 seconds, and you get a 1.5 draw speed bonus when in this ult form, which lasts for 10 seconds and only costs 3,100 energy, which is pretty average for a duelist, but definitely easy to get, especially if you are a precise player. In summary, he's arguably the best ranged duelist in the game, especially in skilled hands. A top-tier DPS for most players to use, especially if you're precise, which in my opinion is definitely better to be more patient, hold the shot, and try and find the right time rather than just spamming. Of course, it does definitely work when you spam, especially in the ult top form. But like I said, I think patience pays off a lot better than all-out aggression. And as I alluded to earlier on in the video, if you didn't pick up on it, I am making a Lord series for every hero in the game. I'm currently progressing really well through it, and this character happens to be one of those heroes I will eventually get around to doing. I just haven't managed to start this character all that much right now, so I haven't even gotten to the night level. And if you guys are familiar with it, there is quite a long way to go from that point. So I haven't really got many reps on this character anyway, so there is a lot more tips and advice that I will provide on that video that will eventually come out on the channel. So you guys are new to the channel, go check out the Lord series. I'm making my way through the tanks at the minute, and we're going to get onto the Duelist very soon because I've got loads on them in the go at Centurion level and above, so just make sure you stay tuned in case you guys are interested. But there you guys have it. That's pretty much the guide in itself for Hawkeye. If you've enjoyed, do not forget to like and subscribe. It massively helps me out. I'm a small creator, and I really enjoy making the content for Marvel Rivals, and it massively be appreciated if you can hit that subscribe button. Any suggestions, tips or tricks or cool clips that you want to share, let me know down below in the comments as well, and I'll get right back to you. I'm Vision SGen. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.